Hi, this is Craig Ingram. I'm at the Allison-Antrim Museum in beautiful Greencastle, Pennsylvania. And today we're going to talk about Joshua Yow's Kentucky long rifles, or also commonly known as Pennsylvania long rifles. So Franklin County was a major contributor into the development of the Kentucky rifle arms. Some of the makers had migrated from Lancaster, Berks County, multiple different areas east through this passageway as they were going to west. Some of those makers, such as John Knoll, John Mewhitter, about 40 in total, landed in this location to start to bring their traits from their home country in Germany and develop out a certain school of gun making within this Franklin County area. So today what we have is one of the makers here in Greencastle, Joshua Yow's. He was a very mechanical person. He was later in the percussion rifle making period, of which case most of your Kentucky rifles in the early periods would have flintlock. They would have more carving, and then the later periods you would see an evolution of less carving and more of an inlay type of approach. Just sign of the times. The calibers would become a little bit smaller just because the availability of lead and the production of the bullets was becoming more challenged. So you see the evolution of the Kentucky rifle becoming smaller, shorter, more inlays, less carving. So the two examples that we have here today are probably right around the 1850s periods, maybe even into the 1860s. Franklin County had gun makers starting off in the late 1700s and worked all the way up until the 1870s. And potentially even the 1880s if somebody really wanted one. Which is a key point. These are by order. There is no CNC machining. There is no mechanical tools to make these. These gun makers made the tools that made the tools that made the guns. So everything was manual. Everything was bespoke. So in this examples that we have, this is considered a target rifle. So this would have been a later period. Less for hunting, more for just focusing on going out and having competitions with your friends on the Sunday afternoon or Saturday afternoon. So as you can see, it's very, very heavy, very stout, heavy barrel. This would have been bench rested down onto a platform. Less ornamental aspects on this rifle, but the very common traits of cap lock, patch box. And that's something to note. The patch box on here, this is very much the design of what we call the Franklin County School. So you have this circle Q at the top of this with a little finial. It's a 4-piece patch box. These makers prided themselves on the engraving patterns that you would see on these patch boxes. And it also became their trait. So with Joshua Yow's, this style of patch box was quite honestly borrowed from other makers within Franklin County, but the engraving pattern became his own. So also featured here is a very high inlay. I think there's 39 inlays on this gun, one of his finer Joshua Yow's rifles. It's a silver gun. Everything's done in German silver. But the funny thing about this one is you start to see other attributes on this gun that is also common to Franklin County, but not very understood. So it's a form of a comet. On this side, comets. On the bottoms, comets. So this is a very telltale sign of Franklin County between the years of 1830s up to 1850s. There was a series of comets that had come across in this area, and it influenced a lot of the makers of this area. So Adams County, Franklin County, Cumberland County, you start to see the rifle makers start to actually produce what they remember when they were kids, produce what they actually was ingrained into their minds as their culture, and it comes out in their work. So many of these guns you'll see the inlays actually have a level of symbolism. So the higher end guns or the more profusely decorated guns, most of those symbols do mean something. Do we understand them all? No. But it's something that to really study. So in this area, we know the series of comets that came through definitely influenced Joshua Yow's. The person that we believe would have taught Joshua Yaus his gun making, which was J.H. Johnston in Waynesboro, right down the street. And the reality is, buggies didn't travel very far. So he didn't go very far to go find out how to make guns. And J.H. Johnston was a very prolific gun maker of the time period, of which a lot of the design, a lot of the pattern, the way the gun was made is replicated in J.H. Johnston type of styles. For instance, all of the fasteners, this fluting along the gun barrel is something that's attributed to J.H. Johnston, of which Joshua Yaus liked, so he mirrored his guns after this. The hidden fasteners, underneath each of these silver pieces is actually the barrel fasteners, how it holds the barrel, so it's clean, it can't be seen. And even a lot of the silver inlays, the engraving patterns on there, while it's Joshua Yaus's style, it was influenced by J.H. Johnston on how he would actually produce that style. So, how many of these rifles were made? Good question. I personally have seen probably about 15 of them, ranging from okay to just masterpiece guns. So the range of styling is very conditioned upon who was asking for the rifle. This one here is probably the finest rifle I've seen, and I have the luxury of actually being able to hold it and look at it and study it. Some of them are in between. Guesstimations, probably 50 to 60 rifles were produced. This was not his primary job. This was something that he would do upon request and upon order. He made quite a few other things, and to survive, he was a blacksmith, he was a mechanical marvel, we'll say, because he came up with all kinds of farming equipment, all kinds of mechanical devices for people for their daily lives. And it was just one of the traits or one of the capabilities that he had is to also make guns. He's also had the first 3-story house in Greencastle. So he did whatever it took to make money. The reality is that's not too different than what it is today. So his skill set, his traits actually led him to be quite successful in life. The interesting part is he did marry locally and married twice because his first wife, I believe, passed away. So there are still some ancestry around this area that are going to be related to him. The interesting part around the lock systems on here is that the percussion lock system is cap oriented. So you have this cap that ignites the system and actually fires the bullet. The beautiful part is you can still get the caps for them. You could take this out today, you can go shoot it just like it was made yesterday. So unfortunately, there's not a lot of these around, so you probably don't want to go do that. But if you really wanted to hunt with an original rifle, you have the availability to do that. And one other attribute that Joshua Yaus had in his career path is he would actually make something called a counterstab coin. And this is a collector field all in its own. Counterstab coins is how the early internet worked. So you would actually stamp the coins. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that or not, but you would stamp the coin with your company heading or your name. And we have 2 of the stamped coins, one on an 1857 Flying Eagle penny and then one on a large cent penny. So that definitely dates these rifles that they're going to be post-1850s period when they were produced. That's a marketing tool as it goes out into circulation in the environment. And like I said, buggies don't travel very far. So you're going to have people in this area that the first thing they do when they pick up their money is they're going to look at Joshua Yaus. And then they're going to think about, what can he offer me? So it's a very good marketing tool. You see this in the 1830s to 1870s periods in American currency, but it's not very common. And like I said, it's a very much a collected field of its own. So, in summary, these are what we have for Greencastle, right? This is the only maker in Greencastle. His artwork and his abilities to make these rifles is superb. Some of the rifles were definitely more utilitarian. Some of the rifles were very fine and they're works of art. So thank you for sitting with us and reviewing these guns. Hopefully you appreciated the the complexity of these guns and the quality and beauty of these pieces. If you like the information and the material that we've relayed today, please click like below. Thank you.